Welcome to And It's Live, the podcast which dives deep into football's most iconic seasons, stories, and what ifs. If you love football, history, tactics, and nostalgia, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell, and drop us a like on YouTube so you don't miss an episode.
И расстановку игроков. Сейчас то же самое будет относительно Валенсии. Это запасные игроки двух клубов. Стефано Браски из Италии, его соотечественники ему помогают.
They've thrashed Barcelona, they've thrashed Lazio, they've beaten Fiorentina, they've beaten Rangers, they've beaten PSV Eindhoven, they've drawn with Bayern Munich, they've drawn with Manchester United. They have not lost in the Mestalla. This is not the Mestalla, and it's a big game, and it's Real Madrid, and they just don't quite turn up. Is it just as simple as that? Because that game, just looking at the lineups on my other screen as they're set out on the night, that should not work for Real Madrid.
It shouldn't. But what I think was quite interesting about it as well was that Madrid almost sort of, they showed them respect, I guess, and they changed the way that they played. You think of, I guess, that final that we've just had again, to go back to that point. There are some comparisons there because Ancelotti has changed the way that Bellingham plays over the last few months of the season and almost made him, how you would describe it, sometimes a right-sided central midfielder in a diamond, and sometimes the number 10, and sometimes the second striker. It's a very fluid role, and it probably Ancelotti's a master of getting things to work, to get things over the line. I think Del Bosque was the same here, because although he moved to that back three against Man United, what he did in the final was quite unselfish as well, or he got some of the players to play quite unselfishly, because he had *𝐿𝐴 and Morientes up front, but he had them working off the ball in a way that you certainly wouldn't think of Nicholas Anelka doing that. Even Morientes as well. He's not the type of striker to me that would be tracking back, and it was all predicated on stopping that overload, or stopping 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐞𝐭 and Mendy getting on the ball, because a 3-5-2 versus a 4-4-2, you've obviously got the four on the sides for Valencia, and then you've only got 𝐿𝐴 and Roberto Carlos here. So what he did then was he let them split, and they covered the angles. They made sure there was no overloads there, and they really got a lot of joy. It takes a special manager to be able to do those things in this game. 𝐿𝐴 sets up Morientes' his goal, and you see, by any means necessary, Roberto Carlos with that monster long throw for the second goal, which gets cleared, and McManaman scissor-kicks the goal in as well. So it certainly worked for them. They were able to, I guess, play Valencia at their own game there, and it was all because of a little tweak by Del Bosque, but also this thing about getting big players and big egos to do unselfish things for the team that maybe other managers wouldn't quite be able to do. I mean, Nicholas Anelka being to run the channels and not be the match winner in the game. I guess it takes and it sums up Del Bosque and Madrid.
Bolton Wanderers, Blackburn Rovers, Middlesbrough, all links to this final and players that are playing in it. Yeah, it just doesn't happen for Valencia, Davy. Morientes with an opportunistic header, which he's so good at. I loved Morientes a lot.
So did I. He's underrated, isn't he?
Yeah, but it's all Real. That's in the first half. McManaman scores a goal. He nearly scored in the first half. This kind of low volley on the edge of the box. This one goes in, and then Raúl with the kind of rounding the keeper, but still, imagine you find the most acute of angle and cut it back across. It was perfectly done. It was a very, very comfortable night in the end for Real Madrid. Maka then, Davey, because this was a big story at the start of that season, him going. England had used the Bosman ruling to get players in. This was probably the first English player anyway. John Collins had gone to Monaco from Celtic and kind of stiffed him. But this was the first time someone had left for nothing, really. On 110 grand a week or 91,000 pound a week, something in that kind of bracket, which was stupendous. That time. It was a big moment, because it felt like, the Premier League on this ascendancy, and then one of its players has left for money that no Premier League team is really on.
Yeah, because this was the dawn, if you like. People had signed players on Bosman's, but this was now players' agents saying, well, hang on a minute. If you'd went to sign Steve McManaman in that era, you'd be, 20 million maybe? 15 to 20? Round about that. well, you're saving so much that you're going to have to pay him a big chunk of that. And now that's standard. You know, players run down their contract because they feel that will boost their, and it does, because obviously the buying club are quite happy. They don't need to shell out a transfer fee, so they would rather pay you a percentage of a transfer fee over your contract, which again is also handy because it's over a contract rather than potentially upfront or whatever. But there was shock, and again it was that you know, you hate to dump on the UK, but there was that very kind of small-minded thing of almost, how dare he? You know, I remember reading articles at the time, and you can imagine the type of journalists. It was like the Custuses and the you know, those sort of Rob Draper, those sort of guys that you know, Liverpool gave him a chance, and you know, all of that kind of stuff, as if, you know, anybody doesn't leave a job where their wages get quadrupled. But also I think that it's the one thing that English football took a while to, and now it has, I think, which is that Real Madrid are the biggest club in the world, and they can outbid you, and they are the club that, if they come in for a player, you are not getting him. And there have been times over the last 20 years where England can blow, you know, anyone out the water financially. They can pay money that nobody else can, etc. If Real Madrid go for a player, Mbappe this summer is a great example. He's going to Real Madrid because they wanted him. And it was that simple. People grow up dreaming, particularly European players, grow up dreaming of playing for Real Madrid. That's the dream. That's where they want to go. And English football took a while to sort of accept that it's the best league in the world. It's the richest league in the world. It can get any player, with the exception of players who Real Madrid want. And now, as I say, they've accepted that. And we've seen so many players over the years go now from the EPL to Real Madrid.
If you enjoyed the show and want to help us grow, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. On YouTube, search for And It's Live Podcast. We've got new deep dives, drafts and breakdowns dropping every other day.